Hello and welcome back to Strategy Guide Reviews. My name is Blake Grunman and I am back to bring you guys a brand new video game guide review. This time it is for Mafia 3. Now, this is a game actually I've been looking forward to for a long time. So when it became an opportunity for me to actually review it, you best believe I was all over that. I could not wait to get my hands on this guide. And actually, for the most part, it hasn't really disappointed. Overall, it seems to be a very well constructed book, first of all. It's very well thought out in terms of how it's structured. But, actually, first, let me just kind of dive right into it. So, right off the bat, one of the things that I realized as I was looking into this book is, holy cow, are there a lot of screenshots. Perfect example of that, case in point, would be this page. Yeah, that is 3/4 of the page that is actually being taken up with only screenshots. That's it. Honestly, when I took a look at that, I was like, wow, that's a lot of screen space to actually try to fill up with screenshots. But we'll kind of loop back around to that here in a few minutes. Now, for as densely constructed as it is at several points in the book, a perfect example of that being one of these type pages where it's giving you the campaign walkthrough, a lot of pictures and also a lot of text. So anybody who's seen any of my reviews in the past knows that I'm a sucker for trying to fill up the page. If I'm going to pay for something, I want to make sure that I'm getting my money's worth. So I don't like seeing a whole lot of white space on the page. So when I saw that, that made me very happy. However, let's counter that with 4 pages before that. You see that? They just filled half the page with blood splatter. So why did they feel the necessity to, to try to cram all that into one page? And then here they have tons of real estate on the page that's just completely not touched. So, this was one of those where I kind of was left scratching my head a little bit because if you're going to try to structure this guy out and space out the content, you would think that maybe you would try to avoid big differences like that. But again, not the end of the world, but it was just one of those where I'm just sitting there scratching my head going, what is going on? Now, as you're playing Mafia, one of the key things that they've got going on is you are a criminal. So as you go along with the campaign, there are also opportunities to get side rackets. And as far as rackets go, they are normally geographically located. And this is one where you can kind of set up, say, in this case, it is a protection racket. So if there is one thing that this guide does fantastically, it is how it uses screenshots or maps for that matter. So you can see here that it has a full blown out look of the city. Now, it's a little hard to see, but you can see these individual little call out points. Each one of those call out points ties directly to a specific location or a specific element of the racket itself in that geographical location. So you can kind of take a look and follow those down one by one, and it will kind of allow you to get a good idea of what's going on in each region. As you expand your reach as a crime lord, it becomes ever more critical to be able to get the most out of every area. And that's one thing that this helps doing. It just does fantastic job of. And really, I found it to be extremely helpful because the big thing is you need to have money in order to expand and in order to keep everyone happy, all of your under bosses happy. And if you can't make the most of all these rackets, then that becomes an issue. So this guide does a great job of kind of detailing that all out. Now, I will say there was some interesting things because as they were doing the campaign walkthrough, there are essentially big call outs like this for every new mission. You get essentially the title page, and then you get the map that kind of shows where that's all happening, along with a few little key legend points. Now, one thing that Mafia 3 does that's kind of odd is that it makes everything a mission. whether you're actually performing a mission or not, it's kind of up in the air. In this case, the Bayou Fenton sit down mission, that's not a mission. Essentially, it is an in-between where, oh, hey, I finished my last mission and I'm moving on to the next one. So here's the moving from point A to point B and the cutscene that happens after that. Why they felt the need to give this 2 whole pages, and as you can see, there's not a whole lot of content there, just a lot of screenshots that kind of are just sitting there saying, yep, this is what happens in the cinematic. It quite frankly, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense why you would dedicate that much space on the page to something that is relatively a non-event, and there is nothing that needs to be provided as far as a walkthrough of any sort. Really, it's just sitting there saying, hey, here's what happened in the story of the game that I'm already playing. So, I mean, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Now, it does break down the individual story chapters that this does unlock after that mission. And it also gives you a list of optional chapters that also, or optional chapters and optional missions that will be unlocked through this sit down in this case. Now, the weird thing is that in some cases, there are choices that have to be made during meetings. And the book does a pretty decent job of kind of breaking down, all right, so here's what the aftermath will be of certain decisions that are made. However, in this case, it's literally just giving you a breakdown of the cutscene, which is just bizarre. Now, that said, there is one thing to also call out. Now, it does say it unlocks these optional chapters, or it unlocks these optional missions, and it gives you the name of the mission. Now, I'm not going to necessarily ding them on this, but I would say that it is kind of bizarre that, okay, we're going to give you the mission name, but that's not here in the main walkthrough. That's fine. They have a section at the end of the book that essentially gives you, hey, here are all the optional missions that you could have taken. But if you're going to take the time to give me the name of the mission and you're going to give me a call out saying that, hey, this is in the back of the book, could you give me a page number? I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be that difficult to do. I mean, overall, yeah, it might be a little tedious when you're trying to write this thing on the fly, but for Pete's sakes, give me a page number. It's going to make it so much easier for me to navigate the book. Either that, or I've got to flip all the way up to the table of contents, try to find the mission that I'm looking for, jump ahead. And, give me some flow. Give me a little bit more logic as far as being able to jump back and forth in between the book, especially if you're going to take it and break it away from the overall walkthrough of the game. Now, I will say, and this is one thing that I was really pleased with as I was playing through the game, was the fact that once again, they did another awesome job for breaking down the individual rackets. And I know, again, it's really kind of hard to see here, but they go through and they break down every key point, and then based off of these points on the legends, it will actually say, all right, so for the interrogations, you need to go visit point 2A, point 2B, and point 2C. And it will absolutely tell you where every single location is on this map in order to try to expand your reach. And not only is it doing that through the narrative, which by the way, the walkthroughs of these missions are pretty straightforward. It's like, oh, hey, these guys, they're hiding in an alley. You need to go and beat them up so that you scare them into working for your side. I mean, it's not brain surgery, but they give you screenshots and they give you just the general gist of what each one of these missions are. Again, not something that necessarily is going to win you any awards, but I just really like the way that this was put together. Now, when you actually get to the optional missions, these are where things get interesting, because you can see how it's broken up, and essentially this mission is given one page. I would say a good majority of the missions that you're dealing with in here, depending upon the size, they are kind of split into several pieces. And because they are these side missions, normally they're kind of, essentially they're going to be 3 to 4 steps. And so they essentially try to dedicate each page to the most important geographic location of the story. Like for example, one of the missions that you encounter early on is one that's called Are We Cool? And in this case, you are running drugs. So it gives you a walkthrough of, all right, here's where you need to go on the map in order to try to find where this drug pickup is. And it is the complete opposite side of the game's world. Like it's way, way out of the way. But it also kind of gives you an idea of, all right, well, here's where you can steal a boat that you can use to go run the mission. Okay, you can go pick up the delivery here. Here are areas that you want to try to avoid because you might have people try to board your ship or try to steal what you've got. And then also, here's the easiest way to get to your drop-off location. So again, these are things that honestly, the narrative really does a good job of walking you through in-game. However, I mean, it never hurts to actually know what you're up against going into some sort of a gunfight or a battle or, any scenarios like that. Now, when you get to the collectibles, this is where I just kind of sat there and scratched my head. Because one of the first collectibles that you get here one of the first collectibles they go over are the wiretapping of junction boxes. Now, you can use these to wiretap the entire city. Now, if you could see there at the top, there's actually a section here that says how to wiretap, and it walks you through the process of actually wiretapping a box. It actually already did that early on, like in the walkthrough tutorial portion at the beginning of the book. So I don't know why it really felt the need to recycle that over again. I really don't have a good explanation for it, other than maybe they're just trying to make it easier for people who are just going in there looking for the collectibles. But I just kind of looked at it and I was like, it's already in the book. Why do you feel the need to repeat that? Now, that said, like I mentioned earlier, their uses of maps are great. And you can see here, all of the different junction boxes in this borough are all broken down, and they are given heavily detailed photos for every location. Based off of what I went through here, there was not a single junction box that I was looking for that I could not find. Because not only is it giving you the location, but it also gives you like a screenshot. Like say it's an indoors, in this case, you're looking for an album cover or a painting. It'll tell you, all right, here's the building that it's in. It'll show you the location on the map. It'll then show you an interior shot, and then it'll show you the item circled. So here's where you need to go to get this item. Because one of the things that this game does is there are paintings on the walls. There are different albums that you can try to collect. There are issues of Playboy that are scattered around the world, and it shows you where you can find all of these, and it does a really good job. And one other nice touch that obviously you might have different tastes than I do, but I did find it kind of amusing that you can see here, especially up there in the corner, you can see the location of where this Playboy issue is held, but it's also actually got a miniaturized screenshot of what you are capturing. So it's just kind of a cute little addition that they threw in there just for good measure. Now, overall, I have to say, I thought that the Mafia guide was great. It really was. It was very well put together. There were a lot of areas where if you were going into a gun battle, for example, it would say, all right, so here are some of where the initial sentry points are where you need to take out key people. But it also didn't feel the need to break down every single person one by one. Because quite frankly, it's a game it's an open world game, so who knows what you're always going to get. So it wasn't beyond the realm of possibility for it to say, all right, so you're going to come into this area here. You want to pick off these 4 key people and then clear out everybody else. It kind of gives you a little bit of flexibility there. And sometimes it would also tell you where key medical boxes are, which you could pick to get adrenaline to try to boost your health, and then also where you could find weapons scattered throughout, especially when they were high-end weapons like sniper rifles or just standard rifles, because they're a little bit more difficult to come by in the game itself, at least until you get the cash to do so. Then all hell breaks loose, and this is when the game gets really, really fun. So just kind of take a look here at my notes. It is kind of bizarre, the sheer number of screenshots that they put in the game, or that they put in the book rather. Yes, they are sometimes pertinent to the actual game itself, but they were just taking screenshots of cutscenes in many cases where it's like, okay, this is just kind of padding things out. I would have rather seen them try to squeeze more mission commentary onto that page, or hell, make one of your existing screens larger. Maybe take something that was going to be a small image in the bottom of the left corner and just take out one of the extra screenshots in your left and your right column so you have enough room to maybe drag it out and take up both columns for screenshots or a big cinematic shot, as opposed to trying to squeeze all these little thumbnail sized images in there. I mean, sure, it's fine. It perfectly, there's nothing wrong with it being there. It just kind of sits there and I go, well, I just played that. I don't really need to see a lot of that in there. Now, I will say that one of the things that just kind of made me scratch my head was why did you feel the need to go through and at the very end of the guide add in that wiretapping section? I know I kind of went around that initially, but it's just, yeah, you're repeating content. Yeah, that's fine. But if you're going to make people jump around, such as for the optional missions, it says, all right, you got to go to the optional mission section in order to read this. Why wouldn't that same logic apply? All right, so in the wiretapping section, you say, all right, go to this page or go to this section for all of the wiretapping breakdowns. You don't go to the wiretapping section and then have it tell you how to do wiretapping again. It's just, why? Overall, I got to say, this is a very solid guide. The detail that was put into it was very high level. They were also able to go in and provide a fairly thorough walkthrough of the campaign without necessarily spoiling every aspect of it. They were able to speak more in generic, broad, sweeping terms so that it didn't necessarily spoil everything before you got to it. And overall, I really enjoyed using it. I think that one of the best things that it has going for it is that it definitely did a good job of trying to give as much credit to the source material as possible. And there's definitely a lot going on under the hood here. So overall, the Mafia 3 guide from Brady Games, the Mafia 3 guide from Prima Games, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. Thank you guys very much, and I'll talk to you again soon.